everyone, welcome to the latest edition of Final Score Overtime. We just had the Super Bowl matchup as well as some UIL realignment coming up for you. What are your guys' first reaction coming off the Super Bowl? I'm going to go to you first. I think you got some happy thoughts.
I'm so excited!
And she just can't hide it.
Yes, go Chiefs!
Sadly, you were also the only one working. So talk about what it's like working while watching. Of course, this is probably the most emotional sports game, of course, if you have a team in it, every single year.
Well, the thing is here, I feel like anyone outside of this studio and the people in the control room do not care about sports at our station. So I was there with Megan, our wonderful producer, and Monica, our Fox anchor, and I think they were, and maybe Jocelyn, one of our reporters, and they were the only three people in the newsroom, and none of them cared about the game. So it was pretty much just me watching, screaming, and then Megan being just morally supportive, like, yeah, Aaron, go Chiefs.
I have some breaking news that's off topic. Mark D'Antonio just stepped down from Michigan State, so their head football coach. But yeah, you can go back to talking about Super Bowl. Wow. Sorry, I just saw it.
Big Ten
breaking news.
Big Ten correspondent.
Not first year on Big Two, though.
No, not first year on Big Two.
You know, I always wonder, like, in those situations, Aaron, for me, I mean, that's a little different because they're not watching the game per se, but when I'm at, like, a watch party, and people are supposedly watching the game, but you can tell they're not, and they're more talking, and it gets crunch time. I'm like, stop! We're watching the game.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. It drives me crazy. I have to, like, if we're watching.
I mean, luckily it was quiet. It was
yeah, but like that wouldn't bother me as much because they're not into it. But if like we were supposedly all watching the game and we were down by 10 at the start of the fourth quarter, and kind of a bandwagon fan, like, oh, whoo, man, this isn't going well. Oh my goodness. Hey, do we still have chips and salsa left? I'd be like, oh my gosh, guys, stop.
I know.
Crunch time.
Yeah, I think it was more easy to focus.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
And of course, Super Bowl Sunday, the fun is flowing in many ways wherever you're watching it, so it's very easy to get distracted, especially for the casual fan and for people who are as invested in the game of football as we are. It's like, no, you guys, this is my safe haven. This is the time for X's and O's.
Shut it down.
Exactly. Thank you. Could not have said it better. But let's dive into realignment, you guys.
Yes.
This is a big course for football. Yes, we got to stay true to our roots of local high school football. Let's go first to District 2 and 6A. You guys want to talk about what you see?
Yeah, so, I mean, kind of basically what everyone was expecting, right?
Yeah.
Abilene, Emerald Tascosa moving down to 5A, so that left a 5-team district, which is really untenable in 6A. So Abilene High, St. Angelo Central in the area.
Welcome
back.
back.
They were both playing closer to the Metroplex, so they're back in, as they call it, the Little Southwest Conference, two staples of that conference. And we did, we caught up with not every coach, but as many as we could. Aaron can attest. We had not a QB spy, but a coach spy, and it was Erin Reynolds. She was tracking people down, guarding the door.
While
outside linebacker.
While Ben was interviewing the coaches, I would stand by the doorway and literally be like, Coach, no, I think we're going to grab you really fast. Like, they would try. So many of them were like,
trying to run away.
Dang it, we're trying to sneak out. And I'm like, nope,
she
get
kept
on
them in
back
the pocket.
here.
She didn't let them, she had contained, didn't let them get outside.
Sounds like whenever
Coach
I'm
Ellison managed to
Jeff
escape.
Ellison did
he
manage to
snuck
get
by,
out.
but we caught up with
He
him
got
later.
out the back door.
Well, you're not the first person from Big 2 who has escaped an interview from.
Yeah.
So he seems to
stealthy
have,
guy.
he's got some very good skills about that.
But we did talk to Jeff Ellison from Permian, Danny Cervantes from Odessa High, and Midland ISD Athletic Director Blake Felt, and this is what they had to say about those two teams back in the district.
It was a big relief because we thought it was going to end up the way it did, and thankfully it did turn out the way we thought, so we were proactive in going ahead and, kind of getting some things taken care of, the order that we would play games as far as district was concerned. So that's one less thing that we have to do.
I thought it was a good day for the district. I think it's certainly a very good thing for us that Abilene High and San Angelo are coming back into the district. Traditionally, they've been a part of this district, and I think it's good for West Texas.
They're great programs, and they're well coached, and so they're good football teams year in and year out. So we're excited, like I said, to have them back in, and hopefully we're ready for the challenge.
Good to have San Angelo and Abilene back. Little Southwest Conference almost back intact. and those guys are great guys, and they're good coaches.
It's also a big deal for us as far as travel goes, because that's one other game that we don't have to find another game that's a pre-district game searching throughout the state for. So that's a big deal for us also.
There's a lot of districts out there. Some are top heavy, some are more evenly matched. I think our district has a lot of very good coaches, coaching staffs, and are similar in some ways. So I think it's a solid district for sure.
That's one of the things that you have to do is evolve with what happens, and like I said, both of those teams are very, very good football teams, and you just have to be up to the challenge. You have to get your kids ready to play every Friday night for sure.
Talking about getting them back in, as far as just the history that's for years and years, and obviously at times the teams go in and out, and they're up and down in classification. So to have those teams back is going to be fun.
So yeah, all those guys seem to be, I'm pretty happy, I'd say, relatively, especially for football people out here in West Texas, that group is back together. Obviously, it's probably going to be a little tougher district now, 7 teams, obviously still 4 playoff spots, but kind of, it's just, for almost historically, nostalgically, it just feels right.
Yeah, that's the perfect word. I think is historic and nostalgic. If they're going to call it the little Southwest Conference, especially if something as historic and nostalgic as West Texas football, that must really ring true for a lot of people.
Definitely.
And I don't know San Angelo Central's coach's name, but
I don't know who it is.
I remember when they left the district 2 years ago, he was so upset, like tried to appeal it and everything to get back into the district. So I'm sure he is stoked to be back over here.
No, definitely. I think there's a lot of happy, Bobcats? Oh, man. I think they're the Bobcats. A lot of
Bobcats?
fans.
I think you're right.
There we go.
You guys want to dive into the District 2 4A of Division 1 now?
Yeah, so pretty much it's the same right there.
Yeah. Still a 14 district, but instead of having Seminole in that district, well, before I go into that, so it's Andrews, Big Spring, and San Angelo Lakeview. But instead of having Seminole the next 2 years, we will have Fort Stockton.
Yeah. And Fort Stockton, we caught up with head coach Mike Peters. They had enough enrollment to be 4A Division 2, but opted up into 4A Division 1. Here's what he had to say about that decision.
I think that it's kind of what we were trying to, we anticipated going into that district. And, it's going to be similar to the one we were in, those schools are traditionally, we've played all those schools forever, either in district play or non-district. So we're familiar with them all. So, just excited to get in a new conference with them.
First of all, we were hoping to get away from the 14 districts in West Texas. That is obviously very difficult to do. As we found out again, we're back in it. But, we've Seminoles dropped down to Division 2. Fort Stockton is going to be with us, so it's basically just a substitution there.
Fort Stockton is a long way from everywhere, as you guys know. So, our thought of moving up was to be able to bring some of our past year's district opponents into our non-district play, which we have. I won't divulge them all, but we have. And which makes those are closer games for us non-district. We've been traveling all over the country for non-district play, so to be able to play closer, and even El Paso from us, everybody out here thinks it's far, but from us it's not, so it's a much easier trip, and that kind of was really the selling point for us moving up.
Kids are working hard overall, though. This is the time when you start building that team, and start filling in the components that you're losing from graduation, those kind of things. And this year we'll be putting in a new leader at quarterback.
Our goal is always to win a district championship. So regardless of how many they put in there, that's the ultimate goal, starting throughout off season and getting into the year. So,
and quite honestly, we didn't know. We really felt like there was a strong possibility of going 5A this year. And with the first numbers that came out, we were only 2 away from that. But it's changed since, and but we are a big school, and have a lot of kids, but you know, a lot of these rivalries that we have and stuff. I mean, every Friday night's going to be a good ball game.
I think it'll be good competition for us in our district, tough competition, and I think that'll prepare us for, you know, postseason play.
Okay, so there you go from Coach Peters. We caught up with Coach Mason as well. By the way, you can find that. We had a big story. We talked to a bunch of these people. Go find it on our website. But yeah, pretty much stays the same. I think it's Coach Mason talked about he would have liked to get out of the 14 district, but aside from that, I mean, familiar territory with.
So with a 14 district, they all make the playoffs.
Yes, for 11 man, 6 man, only 2 teams.
Yes,
make
we know,
it.
Jake. We know.
So
that
disgusting.
was another big
He's heard my grievances on this.
No, I mean, a lot of coaches are with you.
awful.
They don't like it. I mean, there's some coaches that don't hate it. I don't think anyone likes it. There's some coaches who don't hate it. There's some coaches who would be.
If you go 1
I
and
mean,
10,
you can't
should not be in the
There's
playoffs.
no coaches who should
shouldn't be in the playoffs.
having an 0 and 10 or 1 and 9 team going to the postseason.
Yeah.
There's just such a sparse amount of teams
There's no
out
team-
here,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
Especially on those larger sizes. Like,
Yeah.
you can have a ton of 6-man teams, but, I mean,
It's
there's
just, and
only
it's
so
just
many
a lot of
schools with that
travel, too.
enrollment.
Well,
Yeah.
and with
Well,
the
6-man,
only the top 2 teams make it.
So
Oh, yeah.
four
So-
team isn't even an issue with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, it's really like 2A, 3A.
Yeah.
There's a
even
lot of
4A.
2A and 3A schools
Yeah.
around here. So,
All right, guys, let's go to District 1 for, is it
1
District?
4A Division 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
This division stays more or less the same, dominated by Greenwood last year. What are you guys looking forward with this district going into the
Man,
future?
I'm stoked because it's going to be way less confusing to figure out who's going to
I
make
was
the
gonna say.
playoffs because there's only going to be 5 teams instead of 7.
7, the largest. Just real quick to run through that. That's Greenwood, Monahans, Pecos, Snyder, Sweetwater. Fort Stockton moves up. By the way, real quick on Fort Stockton, remember they had the worst case scenario tiebreaker,
Yeah.
7-3 regular season record, missed the playoffs because they were in the 17 district. Now guaranteed. So if anyone can catch a break, it's probably Fort Stockton. But Fort Stockton leaves, and I think the other team leaving is
Lamesa.
Lamesa. Yes, they're dropping down 3A Division 2. So.
my favorite thing, though,
There
from
you go.
this new district realignment is we're going to see Greenwood and Andrews play each other this year.
Yes.
I am so excited
The
for that. You guys
non-district?
know I was a Brett
yes.
Leach truther, and I mean, Greenwood was so fun to watch this year. Ooh.
Yeah, we did have some. We did get some non-district opponents from some of these coaches. As far as some interesting ones from this district, I think Greenwood Estacado. That was a regional quarterfinal, I think. Regional semifinal.
I have no idea.
I know you were at that game, Aaron.
I
In
think
Abilene.
it was, no, that was,
Was it-
Iowa Park that they played. And that must have been the semifinal.
No, Iowa Park was the regional final because they beat them to go to the semis, bro. No.
To the state semis?
Yeah, and I think
Oh,
it was
you
a
might be right
state
then.
quarterfinal. So I think maybe regional semifinal was Estacado. Either
But
way.
I don't think I was there.
No?
It wasn't
oh,
in
no, we
Abilene, at
did. I
least.
think we did get some help from that. But Estacado, that's going to be a good game. Greenwood Estacado, Greenwood Andrews, Greenwood, even Canyon Graham. Those games could be pretty good for Monahans. They're going to play Andrews once again. Big Spring, Fort Stockton, Seminole. That should be kind of an exciting matchup. Pecos and Crane. That'll be an interesting little matchup. Yeah, just kind of fun looking at some of these. Really quick, just kind of backtracking. Odessa High, they're going to play Monterey and Coronado from Lubbock, Wichita Fall Riders. That's going to be a cool game. And then how about this for Andrews? Lubbock Cooper once again, Estacado, Greenwood, Seminole, Canyon, Hereford. There's a lot of exciting. That's another part of the realignment I like is looking ahead to some of these non-district matchups that we figure out early. And then after that, we have District 2, 4A Division 2. This is the only team from our area in there, Seminole. That was really one of the only questions is, would Seminole go to that district with Greenwood, Monahans, Pecos, Snyder, Sweetwater, or would they kind of go up toward Lubbock? And that's it. Ultimately what they ended up doing. They are with Borger, Levelland, Lubbock, Estacado, Perryton, and Seminole. So, you know, all 4 of those teams, aside from Seminole, they're pretty respectable programs. I don't think there's a bottom feeder there at all. Lubbock Estacado obviously has been really good recently, but it should be a pretty good competition level for good old Seminole.
Sure. And Aaron, I know you mentioned Lamesa dropping out of 1-4A into 1-3A. What do you look for this district moving forward, guys?
I think it's going to be interesting that they'll be playing in a district with Kermit now.
Yeah, 1-3A Division 1.
that's-
Brownfield, Denver City, Kermit, Lamesa, Shallowater, Sleep. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a whole new conglomeration of teams. So, well, at least for Kermit.
I did want to point out Lamesa is one of the only teams that drop down actual classifications as opposed to just divisions. So that will affect more broadly affect all their other sports as well. And then as far as Kermit, we got some of their non-district matchups for Kermit: McCamey, Anthony, Pecos, Crane, Kermit and Crane, and Alpine. I think those will be some good games.
Mm-hmm. Next district we'll look at is 1-3A Division 2. Crane is in this division now, Ben.
Yes. Yes, they are. Crane, a lot of travel. Oh, my goodness. You've got Alpine, Anthony, which is would either of you happen to know where Anthony is?
Out by El Paso.
Way out by El Paso. So it's like a 600-mile trip for some
But
reason.
Crane and Alpine were already in a district
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
so
they
that's
were.
not new. But
Crane, Alpine, Anthony, Tornillo, and the brand new football team, the Odessa Compass Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron, we talked to Coach Cordell
yeah.
from Crane. We asked him a little bit about what he knows about the program, what he's expecting, and here's what he had to say.
They predicted that we would be in this district, and sure enough, when the realignment came out this morning at 9 o'clock, we were in that district. So we already made some plans for that. You never know with the UIL where you'll end up, but it left us scrambling a little bit.
Actually, this year it panned out exactly as I was thinking it would. And normally you go in there and you think about what it's going to be, and it's usually completely opposite, just like last year when they threw everybody in a bunch of fours. But it was exactly as we anticipated.
It is, and you know, the other night, in fact, Anthony and Tornillo and Presidio and all those guys are in our basketball district right now. And Tuesday night, our kids had to travel to Anthony, 641 miles, left about 10 o'clock and got home about 2:30. So, you know, that adds to it. But in football, it's not such a big deal because it's a Friday and you got a little bit, you know, of the weekend to recover. But, you know, based on our draw today, Crane America gets to travel to Anthony and Tornillo this year in football.
Just kind of still out there. We just try to not get too many back-to-back long road trips. And a lot of times guys will work with you as far as home and away and stuff like that. So going in there with a new offense and a new defense and really kind of a little bit different way of doing things and to end up 9-3, we're very excited about that. Probably even more excited about the talent that we have coming back. Worked out okay last year because there was quite a few 4-team districts. You know, it is what it is. You know, it's a 5 or a 7-team district's really not real good at all either, just because of where that bye might land.
So kind of an interesting situation there. And then he kind of mentioned, you know, no home field for them yet, is my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes.
He said they might go play out at Grande.
Yeah,
too, so
yeah.
We'll see.
I wish they would be the Compasses, but I think they're the Cougars. That would be fun. The Navigators.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking at the compass, hopefully the only way for them is up from here.
Hey, zing.
All right, guys, let's go into District 4, 3A Division 2, Abernathy, Reagan County, Coahoma, Idalou, Lubbock, Roosevelt, and Stanton.
Yes, this one kind of stayed the same, mostly from the previous year, except for
Reagan County.
Reagan County comes in. I believe they also lost Colorado City, but now 3 local teams in that district with Reagan County, Coahoma, and Stanton. Pretty tough district, though. I mean, Idalou, Abernathy are always pretty good Lubbock schools. Lubbock Roosevelt's not bad, and you know, Coahoma's been pretty solid over the years.
Yeah.
Reagan County's, we talked about them. They had a really young, not even necessarily a young team, but a really junior-heavy team this past year. Didn't do so well, but they're pretty excited about that soon-to-be senior class. Stanton was a pretty young team that I think improved from the previous year, so we'll see. It'll be tough to make the playoffs, though. 6 teams.
Let's go now. District 3, 2A Division 1. It is Anson, Colorado City, Forsan, I believe that's how you say it, Haskell, Hawley, and Stamford.
Yeah, Stanford, shout out James Washington one time. I had to do that that's so crazy. There's a first.
Is that where he went?
Yeah. No, he's a 3rd round draft pick, I guess. All American though.
Yep.
From like one of the smallest, classifications for Texas high school football. But Forsan, the only team from our district in here, and Aaron, I wanted to ask you because you got a first-hand look at our athlete of the weeks at one point. But this young team,
Yeah.
they had a lot of young playmakers. We talked about on the show how, I think they had some close losses. And if you look win-loss, they improved pretty good. But not only that, they were playing a lot closer games. And they got a pretty young team with some young playmakers.
Yeah, I think what was so amazing about this team from not last season, but the season before that was I don't even know if they got a single win
I think they
2
may have
years
had
ago. Maybe one, but then maybe the year before that they didn't have one.
Maybe that might have been it.
Either way, a couple of really low-scoring years, and then last year they come back with this really young team, but still had a little bit of experience from those first 2 seasons, and yeah, they were much improved. So I think it'll be fun to see how they play a senior.
Coach Phillips was pretty excited talking about his young team and what they have to offer. So we'll see if they take the next step.
Next division we'll look at is District 1, 2A Division 2, McCamey, Plains, Seagraves, Wink, and I don't believe Ira Ann is still playing 11 men.
Well,
They are.
They're playing 11 men.
That's what I said. I don't believe
Oh
it.
yeah.
Oh.
That was the interesting.
He does.
For those that don't know,
I refuse to believe.
Yes. Okay. There.
Iran had the numbers to
9-man
play
football.
6-man Division 2, but opted up to 2A Division 2. We believe they're probably going to be back into 11-man ranks for enrollment numbers in 2 years. So I guess trying to not, establish yourself in 6-man just to jump back up. But you know what this is, guys? That was not the case last time. It is not a 14 district. Are we excited about that? Jakes?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess at least they won't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
After playing
You
one
never
game
know.
with 10
You
players.
never know.
Yeah.
I think they could give Plains a run for their money.
Yes, I don't mean to write them off.
Yeah,
Obviously.
No,
they have a
no,
season.
not writing them off. Just saying they shouldn't have been in the playoffs
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
year.
But McCamey, Wink, it pretty much stays the same. They lose Van Horn, who did drop down to 6-man. They gain Plains, Seagraves. Seagraves is a team when I was covering Lubbock teams. They had
They have the Seahawks logo, right? Is that who I'm thinking of?
They have the Superman S logo.
Oh, who has
And
the Seahawks logo?
I can't.
That's
Wall, I think.
Wall,
you're
yep,
thinking.
okay.
But they had Corey Kyle, who had like 3,000 yards rushing per season, finished as like the 4th all-time leading rusher in Texas high school football. Fun fact.
Okay.
He's up there. But I don't think they're quite that good anymore because he's not there. But they're still a pretty tough team. Plains, I think they've improved over recent years. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Do you think the 10 guys on Iran could stop Corey Kyle?
We'll see. I'm not sure what their numbers are going to be like for this upcoming year. Hopefully they don't have that situation.
Yeah.
Run into it.
Speaking of 10 guys on the field, let's talk about 6-man now.
Oh, I was just going to say we got 2 before. But we got really quick running through 2 of these districts. 4 1A Division 1 6-man. Borden County, Meta, O'Donnell, Wellman Union / Whiteface. Now the interesting thing with this, Borden County moves out of Region 2 and into Region 1 with the Amarillo schools, and the Lubbock schools. So, a Rankin, a Garden City, a Balmorhea. Well, Balmorhea is Division 2, but none of the teams from our area would have to go up against Borden County until at least the state semifinals. So that's actually a huge move, almost in that alone. Borden County did have, I think, a 5 or 16 district before. And then after that, 5 1A Division 1, Fort Davis, Buena Vista, Marfa, Van Horn. I believe that is the same with the exception of Balmorhea drops down, Van Horn drops down and joins that district. So
Shot at Fort Davis one time. Finally went there after living here for a year. It's beautiful. The Davis Mountains are great.
It's
I was surprised. I was like, wow, this is a nice little mountain town. Go Fort
Yes.
Davis.
Van Horn is
During-
nice too.
Yeah, during 2 days, whenever I went down to Balmorhea, I had like a 6-hour gap before I went to Fort Davis's practice, and I literally just hung out in the mountains.
Oh, it's so cool. This
And
just
I
became a
explored. They
nature
just have
podcast.
such a cute little town.
It is. It's such
They
a
do.
neat. Oh,
So cute.
I don't know. Go Fort Davis. I'm cheering for you guys this year.
Jake and I are going to Fort Davis.
I was going to say Van Horn, a team, Jake, that you watched at our Game of the Week last year. I mean, they were not a bad 11-man team, and now I don't know who they're. Obviously they're losing some kids broadly in the school. I don't know how many of them are pretty good football players, but Van Horn dropping down, I think they could maybe be a team to keep an eye on. And then that brings us to 6A, 1A Division I.
All right, it'll be Garden City, Grady, Rankin, and Midland TLCA.
Yeah, Midland TLCA. Shout out, a new team coming in to UIL. But Grady and Grady and Rankin too, but Garden City and Rankin meeting up. These are teams that they played 3 times over the last 2 years. Garden City beat Rankin in the regular season, and in the playoffs 2 years ago, last year, they did not meet in the postseason, although Rankin beat them on the road 60-46 in Garden City. Pretty close teams, pretty decent rivalry. We did catch up with both coaches, what they had to say about not only this new district, but also the new region, Borden County, moving to Region 1.
Well, that'll wrap up our realignment talk for you guys.
I would like to mention really fast. Sorry.
We got 2 more.
Balmorhea is no longer in
have
that
them?
district. They dropped down to Division 2, so it's not on here, but.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's misleading for me.
2 other 6-man districts we have for Division 2. 1A Division 2, Sands, Klondike. You guys know what I've been talking about, Klondike. They're going to be a nasty team in Division 2. Loop, Dawson, Wilson. Klondike finally gets out of the district with Borden County. It has been their nemesis. It's basically knocked them out of the playoffs. And then, Balmorhea, Del City, Grand Falls Royalty, Sanderson, Sierra Blanca, Welcome, Valentine. Balmorhea, Garden City in the district together. Should be interesting.
Will that wrap up our realignment
Yes.
talks? That will wrap up our realignment talks. Coming up, the Chiefs are on the pinnacle of the football world. Here are reactions from the biggest game of the year, including from our very own Chiefs correspondent, Aaron Reynolds. Coming up after the break.
When you got a big job, you need a reliable work truck. From flatbeds, roustabouts, and crane bodies, it's all here at Stanley Ford Andrews. Our fleet sales crew can get you in the right truck for the right job. No one has more in stock than Stanley Ford and Andrews.
Welcome back, everybody. Time now to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to break it down for you from a lot of different angles. We're going to start right over here. Aaron Reynolds. Aaron, I got a question for you. Do you think the Niners blew this game, or do you think the Chiefs went out and won it?
I don't know. There were parts where I thought the Niners could have, going into halftime, when they still had 2 minutes left and they settled for a field goal. There were instances where I was a little why? I was concerned about the play calling, but I mean, just looking at that last fourth quarter, that's who the Kansas City Chiefs have been all year. So I don't think it's that the 49ers necessarily. Well, although Jimmy Garoppolo sucked in that last quarter too, so I don't know. I think it's a mixture of both.
There definitely were some questionable coaching decisions.
Yeah,
I think the only thing that jumped out to me as far as lost the game for the 49ers was right before the half. They get the stop. They have 3 timeouts. They let Kansas City run the clock down. And you're like, okay, they're going to keep 3 timeouts instead of 2, whatever. I don't know that they need that. But then they run the ball, and they basically gave up.
Yes.
And then at the end, they got the big pass to Kittle that got called back for offensive pass interference. Well, if you guys were going to do that, I don't know what they were doing. They could have scored a touchdown there.
Exactly,
Easy.
Yeah.
If not a field goal. And that did, and then I believe,
and then that would have put them up 17 going into the fourth quarter,
believe,
which
if
is
I'm not
such
mistaken,
a different perspective.
That would have made that last touchdown for the Chiefs. That would have just not the last one with Damian Williams, but the one before.
Well, it was also with Damian Williams.
That would, the receiving touchdown.
Yes.
That would have just made it a tie game. And then I think the touchdown with Damian Williams at the very end, they were stacking the.
It was a garbage time touchdown.
It was a boom or bust, and it was a bust for the defense, a boom for the offense. But I mean, that would have just tied the game with that one, and then they could have maybe stuck to their game plan instead of chucking it down the field. That Jimmy G did way overthrow Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes.
But aside from those two, that decision with the halftime, the big play to Sanders, I thought give it to the Chiefs.
Sure. For me, the 49ers lost this game defensively. We talked about Saleh
Which
all
is
year.
funny.
He had been
Let's
phenomenal.
not lose the irony there.
The front four have been persistent against every team they played.
Well, they got
first
4
through
sacks
fourth
in that.
They did, but once the Chiefs started to go hurry up tempo, you could tell not only did the D-line kind of you couldn't substitute.
Yeah.
So guys were getting tired, you couldn't slow down. I thought they got way too aggressive, especially in the fourth quarter. They started calling disguised coverages.
Yep.
Specifically the one Sammy Watkins gets right behind Richard Sherman. It looks like he has safety help. Safety rotates over. And Richard Sherman doesn't even get a hand on Sammy Watkins.
Nope.
That's a 35-yard completion to get it into first and goal.
Yep.
You don't need to be playing that aggressive with the lead in the fourth quarter. There's single-digit minutes left in the biggest game of the year.
And
He's the best quarterback in the league.
It feels like such a bad choice. They had the lead. Their defense, no matter what, even though their defense looked that good, they're gassed. Running with those Kansas City players, that is a fast team, and it's not a good idea to get aggressive at the end. Do what's been working. Stay back. I don't know. I was happy I was cheering for the Chiefs, but I didn't like Kyle Shanahan's.
I will say before with Mahomes,
coaching.
The interception he threw, not the one that got tipped up on Tyreek where he
threw it behind him a little bit.
Like into coverage.
He threw it right to
That
Warner.
reminded me of there were some really, really good Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, and then there
some
were
real
ones where
bad.
you're like, oh, Patrick. That reminded me of one of those moments. I was a little worried because it was still kind of early in the game at that point. He hadn't gotten clicking. And since it was 3rd and 15, the big pass to Tyreek Hill, I didn't think he had someone open. I thought he just chucked it because he's also been known to do that. And then I saw him, they panned it over and he's wide open. I'm like, oh my God, he's got him.
And speaking of that play, we talked about aggressive defense, and in real time, I was thinking the same way that I just said, over-aggressive call, this, that, whatever. If you remember 2 weeks ago when they were playing Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, I can't remember the name of the cornerback, forgive me, but he had an interception, or I think Richard Sherman might have had an interception on the exact same type of coverage where he just squatted right at the sticks and it basically ended the game. Yeah. So it's like, we're talking about taking gambles at maybe inopportune times, but at the end of the day, if it works out, we're not talking about it. If Mahomes doesn't decide to take an 11-step drop and flick the wrist 50 yards to Tyreek Hill, if he decides to take the underneath throw,
things change. Well, and that play you're talking about, Richard Sherman got absolutely burned by Devontae Adams, I want to say, from Green Bay.
Yes.
And then he came back and got that interception on that coverage you were talking about. So, I mean, obviously playing aggressive works for the 49ers. Their defense is outstanding. It just, the Chiefs are way faster than the Packers ever were.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. Aaron, Andy Reid has been coaching in this league for 20 years. He's been very close. He's made the Super Bowl before. He didn't win when he was in Philadelphia.
Right.
I know he's obviously very close with the Kansas City community, the Hunt family, the whole Chiefs organization. Talk about how cool it is to see the big boy go get one.
I think it's just so hard not to love Andy Reid. And, he's compared to all of these coaches that are around the same age, have around the same career length, Bill Belichick. And you can't deny that, obviously, Belichick is amazing. But I feel like we don't give Andy Reid enough credit, especially for what he's done with all of the teams, and with the Eagles, has left imprints on their organization, and then coming into the Chiefs has completely rewritten that entire team. So I think that was one thing that everyone could agree on, that
Total
he
Hall of
deserved
Famer.
this
Well,
so
and
much.
that's everybody was always saying.
Total Hall of Famer.
But especially
Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame head coach. He just needs a ring. Now he has that ring. There's no reason. Yeah, no question.
And he loves cheeseburgers and Hawaiian
He
shirts.
does.
How could you not love the guy?
Exactly.
I always too, I have a sympathy for people who get let go when I can't remember exactly the circumstances when he left the Eagles, but broadly, he was a really good coach for a really long time there.
It was
You
just
could
about getting
tell.
over to the next level.
I
just getting
have
over that
sympathy
hump.
for coaches who they almost get let go because they just didn't win Super Bowl as opposed to they were always 10-6. He's a good coach. He clearly is, so I'm glad it kind of paid off.
Yeah, and the Eagles actually took to social media. They tweeted a big congratulations to Andy Reid right after the game.
Good. Yeah. He's the one who made Carson Wentz who he is today, too.
Sure.
And was one who convinced him to play Nick Foles. So
we talked about how exciting Shanahan has been. He's basically been what Shanahan is today for the last 20 years, just in terms of offensive innovation. Taking your C+ guy, turning him into a B player, maybe even or just what you said, we can't give him enough credit, especially after this big win. I'm really happy for him.
Definitely.
Guys, next question I have for you. I know Patrick Mahomes won Super Bowl MVP. I don't think it's unfair to say that it was his worst game of his professional career, especially through 3.5 quarters.
Certainly through these playoffs.
Through playoffs.
Yes.
Definitely.
If you could have anybody else not named Patrick Mahomes winning Super Bowl MVP, who was it?
I went conventional Damian Williams. I actually kind of thought he was going to. I know his stat line
He easily could have.
didn't pop off the screen,
Yeah.
but he
100
had
on the ground.
As much as
2
Patrick
touchdowns.
Mahomes got it for playing well down the stretch to bring him back, Damian Williams scored those last 2 touchdowns that put them over the top and sealed the deal as well. So I thought you could have made a case for him too.
I had Watkins and Hill. I mean, if I could split the award, I mean, both of them had about 100 yards receiving. A couple plays down the field that really did change the game. That's who I would have put is one of those 2 receivers. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you could pick any of the receivers.
Yeah, Kelsey. I mean,
I feel like that's why Mahomes won it, because you could have picked any of them. Like,
They
there
have
wasn't,
so many offensive assets.
it wasn't like Kelsey had like 13 receptions for 220 yards or something.
Well, you talked about offensive assets. I'm going to the other side of the ball. I think Tyrann Mathieu should have been Super Bowl MVP. Not even just talking about the game, but the defense that the Chiefs had this whole year. You guys traded D Ford to San Francisco. Justin Houston walks. Eric Berry walks. I mean, these guys are Hall of Fame players that you just lose. And then you get Tyrann Mathieu, who's had a tumultuous career in terms of not even just on the field stuff, a lot of off the field problems. Of course, getting kicked out of LSU for drug problems. He's been bounced around the league more or less. Like, I would never say he's been declining. Just teams never really knew how to value a 5'7" safety who kind of plays a lot of different positions.
Kind of a unique.
He's a very unique player. The Honey Badger is kind of unlike any defensive player. But
it's fun to watch him stand next to Kelsey because he's just like a full foot.
Yeah.
Literally a foot shorter than him.
Yeah.
But what he does in terms of, cover correcting, alignments, we saw the speech that he gave in the third quarter. I mean, ripping in to the sideline on, the whole Kansas City Chiefs team, offense and defense, talking about momentum and tempo and stuff. Like, guys, like, this is our moment. Like, we need to seize this. We are not seizing it. And then pretty much, just a few minutes later, Chiefs got the ball, they score. Chiefs get the ball back, they score again. All of a sudden, they're winning. I think his impact on this team, not even just the defense in this game, cannot be understated.
Well, and he's such an athlete. He can make up for a lot of things that lack on that KC defense. He's really a hole filler. He had 6 tackles, some good defense, but he always just fills in where you need him to, and that is exactly what you need from a guy like that. Like, just fast all over the field, always making sure that at least it's not a big play that's destroying
He
them.
was the one that had the interception. No.
He helped cause it with
Okay.
Fuller.
Okay. Fuller. That's right.
Yes. And there was a couple plays that don't even go on stats for Tyrann Mathieu where he'd start on the left half of the field and I'd see flip hips and he knew exactly what was busted in their coverage and he would go correct it. Yeah. Stuff that you don't even see on the coordinator cams that we see from the broadcast, but if you look at all 22 or if somebody decides to shine a light on it like an analyst or Joe Buck or Troy Aikman, one of the people calling the games, you don't see it. It goes under, it just goes totally under the radar. And it's in little things like that like football players know, the coaches know, and they understand how valuable that is. Just real happy for him to get a Super Bowl ring too.
Go Chiefs.
Guys, next question I have for you guys. What moments will you take away from this game? Sound bites, plays, moments.
Halftime show.
Oh, the
No.
halftime show. The halftime show.
I loved it. It was fun.
It was good.
It got a lot of traction on social media.
That's true.
I have to think about it.
I know what mine would be. It'd be in that fourth quarter when Patrick Mahomes threw that bomb to Tyreek Hill.
I was going to say probably.
That's what started it all. So.
Probably the Chuck, because like I said, I thought it was. Because if I remember, Sammy Watkins was maybe going deep, and he was covered, and I think I saw him at first, and I thought he was just trying to outthrow everybody. I didn't think it, and then, like I said, pan over. Oh my goodness. So I think probably that moment, because that's when I think it started to kind of get a little real.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to go sentimental cheesiness. I think his name is Noddy, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs. He decided to pay for the entire adoption fees of the puppies in the Puppy Bowl, I believe it was. That is fantastic. That is fabulous. That is so sweet. Hall of Fame move. Just
Move?
yes.
Oh, okay.
I saw that. I read that. It made me very happy.
I think,
It made me very
honestly,
happy
my
for
favorite thing about the whole thing was, I mean, I grew up in Nebraska, and there's a lot of Chiefs fans in Nebraska, and it was cool to see a lot of people who've really cared about the Chiefs for a long time just, like, finally get that. Like, I saw a tweet, and it was some grandpa had a pair of socks that he bought, and he was only going to wear them when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. He died a couple of years ago, and his grandkids put on the socks after the Chiefs. Just little things like that. That's what I like about
Tugs at your
Super
heart.
Bowl and stuff like that.
Man,
So.
who was there was some Chiefs player too who grew up close to Miami and worked at Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
hear
yeah.
that story?
Yes.
Who
Yep.
was that?
I can't
I
remember
think
his name.
he was a special teamer for the Chiefs. I
Yes,
can't remember his
and
name.
he was drafted in like the 6th round or something, but he still
Yes.
ended up
Yeah.
playing like 30-some snaps. in
Oh
the
yeah,
game.
he worked concessions at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
At the
then
Hard Rock.
His first time
Stadium.
back was
Yeah.
winning Super Bowl.
That's
Life
crazy.
coming full
Who
circle.
was it?
Nebraska.
I can't remember his name. I'm sure as soon as we walk out of the studio, it'll come to one of us. But
Yeah, exactly.
Nebraska,
Not really a
part of
household.
the kingdom.
Yeah, Southeast
Everything the
Nebraska
light
is part of the
touches
kingdom.
is ours.
Yeah. Eastern Nebraska is the
Nebraska.
kingdom.
Yeah.
The West is all Denver. But,
True,
yeah.
true. I think,
Yes.
are we wrapping up?
Wrapping up.
I did want to say NFL awards, there's a lot of them, but shout out NFL Comeback Player of the Year, Ryan Tannehill. Shout out Big Spring.
Love it.
Keep it local.
Keep it
What a
low.
great way to end.
Full circle.
Yes. Guys, that will wrap up this edition of Final Score Overtime. You can, of course, check this show out on our website and our app, yourbasin.com. Coming up next week, we'll be talking about the NFL draft and some other things that you guys want to touch on.
Signing day.
Signing day will be the big
Kids
one.
are signing
Yep.
their letter of intent. Some local players going to some local schools.
Oh, yeah.
Take a look.
And some big schools.
And some big schools.
Yeah, that's some big schools. Yeah.
And some big
It'll be
schools.
exciting. We can look at some. I want to look at some recruiting classes. I want to see what UT did, A&M,
Yeah.
all of them. You know, get a little stoke the bandwagon fires. You know, just get it ready to go. Drink the Kool-Aid. I'm ready for college football.
There we
already.
go, baby.
I'm drinking the
Let's go.
Kool-Aid. Nebraska's going 10-2 next year. Calling it now.
Wrap it up, Joe.
We'll end on that note right there. That will finish up this week's edition of Final Score Overtime. Of course, tune in next time for all of the stuff that we just talked about. It'll be a great show, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ben, I got to talk to you about this.